Kicking off this morning with a big bowl of porridge, 1 banana, handful of blueberries, vitamin C tablet, very strong black coffee, 2 omega tablets on 3, 6 and 9, and an iron tablet.
Good morning friends, here we are another day. As you can probably see, and the noise in the background, it's a typical British morning. Just off now for a 40-mile endurance ride. And it's probably the longest ride I've ever done. Forgetting the rides that I used to do as a child over the downs over, the space of a few days, but it's by far the longest ride that I've done, so it's going to be intriguing to see how I get along, what happens, be analysing really myself and how I'm feeling today. I'm planning to keep the resistance quite low, but keeping the RPM quite high. Yesterday, had a chat with one of the guys at the gym, one of the PTs, who I've become friends with over the last couple of years. And he asked me what my motivation was, or how do I keep motivated throughout these kinds of things. And I answered just what I felt at the time. But I did reflect on it last night, and I was thinking about, am I motivated? Do I need motivation to do this? And in simple, the answer is no. And I think the reason why I can say so confidently that I don't need motivation is because I'm aware in the present moment. I'm being present constantly every single day. So I'm not thinking about necessarily my tomorrow's doings, my tomorrow's failings, my tomorrow's challenges. So it kind of eliminates all that dirty mess there. I'm not thinking about the race day necessarily. I visualise myself going through each of the time gates. I see myself completing the swim, so I use visualisations as tools as an ingredient in my toolbox. But because I'm present in the moment, there's no motivation required. And again, I think because it's so aligned with my life, and I don't like to use the coin term living the life, but I'm living the lifestyle that I choose on a daily basis. I wake up in the morning excited about what today's going to bring, about the exercise of today. And of course there's going to be aspects of it that are challenging, and there's going to be some thought provoking questions that are going on, but I don't really need motivation because it's something that I've chosen to do. Nobody else is enforcing this on me. And I think if you can act in that moment and be present in the moment, enjoying the now, then I don't think there's any purpose in seeking something that's not required. And I've worked with quite a few people in my time that have obesity problems and are struggling with their weight and things like this. And I think the reason why they seek that motivation is, or I know the reason they seek that motivation is because they're not happy in the present. They're not happy of the person they've become. So utilising these 100 days for me, or using the 100 days, it's not, I don't think I'm going to require any motivation. I'm going to require lots of advice and help, but nobody to pick me out of bed in the morning, wake me up saying that you need to go to the gym, you need to complete this set of exercises. And of course that's very different to lacking energy and things like that. Very, very different. So I guess what I'm saying is, you're living in the present moment and doing what you want to do. There should be no reason to look for external factors or external influences to really motivate you to do that thing. If you're happy in your current life, then you wouldn't go seeking for motivation. You can seek advice, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. If you're really struggling, you need motivation to keep you on track, then I think you really need to question the integrity of what you're doing there and then. And again, I don't know, I could be completely wrong about that whole statement, but living now, living in the present, having to get up early, something outside of my current or my previous way of life, my previous existence, because it feels so right, and I've immersed myself within the challenge, within the opportunity. There is no great demand or great need to seek out anybody else for motivation. First 40 mile done on a bike. I'll post the details later. So that's me done, 40 miles on the bike. It was probably a little bit more than 40 miles to be fair, only because I jumped off to go for a pee and forgot to restart the timer or the distance. When I got back on. So rookie error there. Also experienced chaffing for the first time. It's quite a painful but good learning. I guess it comes to people at some point, so I'm glad that I now know what measures need to be taken to avoid that. While I was on the bike, utilised that time because it's quite a mundane thing sitting there on the bike for an hour and 45 minutes doing nothing. I watched a couple of YouTube videos from Macca. I'm going to put the description in the link below. Watched his whole playlist. It's about 45 minutes, 50 minutes long. Some really helpful tips for beginners in there. Some bits that I kind of knew already from learning via the books and previous YouTube videos, but there's a lot of useful information there from someone with a vast amount of experience. And again, it's really focused on the beginner within the videos, so highlighting aspects which are common sense, but sometimes we can take for granted because we get wrapped up in the moment. During the ride, hour and 45 minutes, just took a banana in there with me, and then had a protein nut bar, a vegan nut bar, when I got back in the change rooms. My Garmin 910 XT, my monitor that I'm using, recorded about 580 calories burned within that time. The nut bars, 212, and a couple of bananas. I know that they recommend 300 calories per hour during your training or during endurance running. But again, I think that differs on the individual where you are. But just an average. I probably learned it's completely different throughout the whole process or later in my journey. But keeping that fuel coming in, I think, is also good from the start, because then you're educating your body and you're retraining your body to fuel itself and utilise calories that you're feeding it during that training. keeping things really simple. Again, that's one thing I decided early on. I'm going to introduce gels and bars and test some of them later in my journey. But for now, because I haven't got the experience and I think there's so many other factors to contend with, I'm going to keep the feeding during my training really simple, with the attitude that if I can't pronounce it, I shouldn't be eating it. No complex ingredients, no fast foods, you know, going back to raw ingredients. You're pretty much seeing what I'm eating anyway. As you can see, you know, everything's raw from its natural, from its natural oneness. So I'm just on my way back now, grabbing something a little bit more substantial than a banana. But overall, feeling pretty happy with that ride. I could still hold a good conversation afterwards as a result. So I wasn't completely out of breath. Kept the RPMs. I think the RPM average was about 102. And it varied. I integrated some bits and pieces. I got myself off the seat a few times just to loosen up the legs. Post-training nutrition consists of mixed salad, a bit of the kofta from yesterday which was left over, some mixed seeds and some hoisin sauce. So for just a couple of handfuls. This. No excuse for a poor diet. I'm out and about, didn't bring anything with me, so picked up a Cliff Bar and some dates and my favourite Starbucks black coffee.
You didn't see that?
Never without a banana.